The scars were born as a sign. It depicts the journey, the beginning, the ending of a different time. Shadow with the mist, combined with the smoke eclipse. Silky eyes, deadly, like a speed through time. Standing still, watching the early grays go cold with a shiver. It quivers, then dissipates in the darkness, where it exists no more. Perhaps in your mansion, I could vent a tunnel. Hello everyone, welcome back to Poetry Journal Podcast. I am your host, Alex Murdoch, and hope everyone's doing well. Unfortunately for us, we're going through a type of situation in London where it's starting to get cold again, and what can I say? Summer's over. It's quite unfortunate. I will miss it, but so I see you close to, let's say, another 6 months or so. Yes, it's one of those moments, but yeah, moving on, as we say. But yes, what you just heard was the quote for today, and I thought, let me just run through it as I always do, and go back to covering again. I want to give it some thought today, and so now that we've got the got the intro out of the way, I just want to go through it again, and then we can have a discussion about it. The scars were born as a sign. It depicts the journey, the beginning, the ending of a different time. Shadow with the mist, combined with a smoke eclipse. Silky eyes, deadly, like a speed through time. Standing still, watching the early grays go cold with a shiver. It quivers, then dissipates in the darkness, where it exists no more. Perhaps in your mansion I could vent a tunnel. And of course, I suppose there is a little bit of a twist with this one, where this quote especially is just coming from a more of a love poetry type of origination, and you can kind of see that in terms of like the use of the words, precisely the word scar, and just in the sense of like, when I think about scars, and I just think about not necessarily physical scars, but those born of an unfortunate situation or hard times that you've been through, and like, not necessarily PTSD in this situation, but in fact, like PTSD, it leaves a mark on you. If only in memories itself, and sometimes it becomes like a play that, we're going back to Shakespeare now, but it does run like a play in your mind that's just, in a way, it's just constant, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it gets to you, and over time, if you ignore it, it becomes like a telltale of a journey itself. And but you always find yourself going back to a place where it's almost like, if it becomes a story in itself, it's almost like you find yourself in a place where it's just like, where did this begin? And so that was the beginning, when everything initiated, when it started, when it all came about, in a sense. And so, as I run through it after that, it's just kind of like just speaking of different things that that situation entails. Of course, the beginning, the ending, the most two important parts of it. And I guess in a sense, I'm speaking about the middle, shadow with the mist. I know I speak about, I've noticed myself personally, I speak about darkness or shadows a lot, or, but, I guess maybe just being objective, I guess I come from a place of like, I do feel like I can relate to that side of me in a sense where there's a little bit of darkness, where the shadows are born, and so it's kind of it's always, sometimes it's always like an inspiration to me in a sense where I and so I would go into different ways, or indeed just go into a way where I'm almost like I'm detailing different facets of darker experiences. And sometimes I think the point I'm making, and I tend to draw on that a lot, but also, I also know for a fact a lot of the writings that I do, they come from a deep place. So, and the deeper you go, I guess maybe that's a thing. The deeper you go, the darker it gets, And so, combined with a smoke eclipse, silky eyes, deadly, like a speed through time. And so, when I'm thinking about silky eyes, deadly, I'm looking, a speed through time. It's almost like I just picture something like, it's almost like they always have this saying where you see your life flash before your eyes, in a sense. Now, as I would mention, they usually say things like this. If you've heard this before, they usually say things like this would happen before you meet your demise, as in before your death. But obviously, we're not going that far. But we were just saying, as in like where I'm coming from with this, and the picture I'm trying to depict with it is just, I'm seeing so much, almost like in a mind's eye. And it's so rapid, it's almost like your whole life flashing before your eyes, and perhaps maybe implications of like deadly situations or thoughts, at a standstill. So it's almost like, it's a constant, but it's moving so fast, it just seems like a standstill to me. And just watching the early greys. So, as in, not so much darkness, but grey, so not bad, but at the same time, these are like situations, could even be memories that they add to that mystique that will probably later on be a situation that's gonna have you seeking therapy. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it goes sometimes. And so consequently, because of that, You go cold with a shiver. It quivers, then dissipates. And so with that, it's almost like I'm just speaking of a time where it's almost like, that's the experience. It's cold with a shiver, but certain things, it would come and go. It would come and go. In periods. So it would stay for a while, and it would leave, and then it would leave, be absent for a while, and then it would come back. And so that's kind of like where I'm coming from with it. And this, I'm directly going in the darkness where it exists, no more. Perhaps in your mention, I could vent a tunnel, and this is more me just kind of like reconnecting it to something, someone, like a vessel of significance, you could say, and not necessarily somebody that hold like intentional significance or significance that's I want to be, I want it to matter anymore kind of thing. But certain things you can't really help but just feel like they entail certain parts of your character, or they left a blemish so what's the word I'm looking for? They made such an impactful blemish on you, in a sense where it's almost like an impact on your DNA, in a sense where they left a mark, and I just feel like there's a lot of power in that. There's definitely a lot of power in that. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. This the second piece, the second quote I would like to speak on, as it goes. A beast in the tender times, caressing the beauty like flowers seeping in the bloody, enriched in the muddy, as it pours into the silkiest robes. Morse cold to the North Pole, expecting my temperament to carry lessons entailing the most treacherous times, the taboo stories from the untold. And I think with this quote, it was more of a more belligerent type of outlook on things, or should I say, not just belligerent, but it's more of a corrupt or corrosive type of outlook on my situation, or perhaps how I could be at times, or maybe it's a projection. Sorry, not projection. It's more of like, because sometimes I have to add, sometimes when I do write, it's not necessarily when you're somebody that empathize or you can understand people's plight. I find in my experience that could be inspiration as well. And so sometimes you might not necessarily write from, even though for the most part, majority of what I do always comes back to my experience. But what you'd find is because you can empathize with people and you can understand people's plight. You know, one of the main reasons why you can do that is because you have similar experience to that person. And so when I see certain things occurring, like certain occurrences with other people, no matter how anonymous it is, if I can relate to that person's experience or whatever their situation is that I'm witnessing through my experience, then that's another form of inspiration. And so I just feel like you can always draw from that. And you know, it's almost like, as I've said in the past, it's like fodder, it's like fuel, where you kind of create from, and you draw power from, and you know, you kind of make that your own. And so, like I said, just that whole ideal of, you know, there's a certain level of corrosiveness in the tender times, in a sense, you know. On top of that, caressing beauty, like flowers seeping in the bloody, like, you know, those are like, that's why, like, it's almost like, to me, it just evokes this feeling of almost discomfort when I think about. It just takes me to a place where it's almost like a feeling of discomfort, where I can imagine like a river I know you just have to follow me here because it's quite outlandish thinking, but just like a river in a sense, but running like a bloodstream, like in a blood vessel. So basically bloodstream, but it's a corrupt one. It's almost like like a sewer line where it's mixed with all some of the worst things you can have, in a pipeline in a sense. So the rusty, the belligerent, the emotional instability, the debilitative facets of your embodiment, it's just all kind of encapsulating type of unworthy things within your vessel as a person, your body, so I guess what I'm saying is that line, these whole paragraph there, a beast in the tender times, caressing the beauty like flowers seeping in the bloody, enriched in the muddy as it pours into the silkiest robes. Those to me are like very powerful lines, and they tell a tale. They tell a tale that I'm sure it just gets more detail, of course, and it tells of even further darkness of things that I could relate to when I think about corruption and being belligerent, even the lessons that comes with that, treachery. And so as a result, that's why I use words like taboo, stories that was never told, ergo from the untold. So yeah, it's a pretty intriguing piece, I would say, and this is why I love what I do, And this is why I still like to share what I do, because I could speak about this all day, and it's intriguing to me. It's always intriguing to me, and I'm passionate about it. And I would like to think, if you're listening to this right now, you're passionate about it too. You're the same, and in some way, even if you're not an artist, you're even an artist, or you understand it, or you have an appreciation for what I have to say or what I have to express. And I think whichever you are, I appreciate you, and your support, and just listening to my expression in audio form. It's been a journey, and it's not one I take for granted. And I just feel like it's almost like, to me, it's still only the beginning. Even though I've been writing poetry for a long time, at least over a decade. But you appreciate the journey even more when I do things like this, because it just it brings me into it. It pulls me deeper into it, and I always enjoy that fact. So, of course, thanks to everyone for supporting and listening to what I have to say. With that being said, everybody knows, well, and if you don't know, Poetry Journal Growing Pains is out now, and I'm really enjoying performing. I'm still performing little pieces here and there from it. I've created a lot of new things, new pieces that I don't really, some you've heard that I would, pick snippets of to speak about on here, and others, they're just archived, they're just in the archive saved. Some I would perform on stage, so if you see me perform, you might have heard something. And the others that you haven't heard or you've yet to hear, that's for time to come, of course. But for now, there is Poetry Journal Growing Pains on Amazon now. Go get yourself a copy. I really believe in what this has to offer. If you're big on knowledge of self and the tools for such knowledge, for such growth, definitely go out and get yourself a book. It's really big on social emotional tools, and I've had a lot of people give me their opinion in saying how unique and innovative that book is. I'm always working on my work, so I've kind of just make sure, just keep checking them to see how I can make it better. And just just making sure. So recently I've just kind of worked on the structure of it. Just make sure it's a bit more organized and stuff like that. But I'm really big on giving quality content out there for people. So definitely go check that out. And I also have the series ongoing, Into the Abyss series. So I would love people to continue to support me with that series. The reviews are starting to pile up on there, so definitely check out the reviews if you really want to know what's going on with that. But that book, it was my first ever story, so like I said, that's like the first ever publishing baby. And yeah, it will always be special because of that. But there's 3 volumes out, so definitely go out and get that as well. And of course, I'm always working. Open mic this week, I'm going to Grow Hackney. So on the Sunday, I think it starts 7:30. So anyone in the area, or we're always welcome to come down. But yes, I appreciate everybody's support and listen to what I have to say. So thanks everyone, and so as I always say, until next time, have a great week and speak soon.